A couple of amicus briefs were filed today in support of Coinbase in its legal battle against the SEC. Everybody, I wanted to say right off the bat, this is not only a legal battle, this is a process of education. And that's what we're seeing play out right now. I've been saying time and time again, and this is just my opinion, I could be wrong, I think Coinbase is going to win against the SEC. And I think it's because they have the law on their side. Now, through this process of winning, there is a process of education. And this is what we see playing out. We all know what happened. SEC went after Coinbase. This was early in June. And it's been just step by step progressing. This was August 4th. Coinbase moves to dismiss SEC lawsuit, alleging crypto falls out of regulators' oversight. So they moved to dismiss the lawsuits. And Coinbase wants its SEC lawsuit dismissed, arguing it doesn't deal in securities. So this was in August. Note this brief, we're going to revisit this, but note this brief little title here. The company likened cryptocurrency sold on its platform to commodities like baseball cards. We're going to go over these amicus briefs. It's more than just a couple that were just filed today, August 11th, a very important date, but it's all here. The judge in this case, Judge Fila, this is a huge focus of the entire thing. Judge aligns with Coinbase's argument. So this is in relation to what happened in the pre-motion hearing. And this is Judge Fila, just so you have a picture, some imagery. That's Judge Fila. And look at this headline alone. Judge criticizes SEC approval of Coinbase IPO and pre-motion conference. I want to just read something that stuck out to me in the pre-motion that happened. This was from Judge Fila during the hearing, and then we're going to get into this news. So hit that like button right now, everybody, especially if you're bullish on Coinbase in this Coinbase SEC case. Judge says, but there is a question about the efforts involved in the underlying crypto assets. I think that's where perhaps there's some traction to the defendant's arguments, talking about Coinbase. I know you don't agree with it, and the question I'll have for both of you, spoiler alert, is that I'd like to know what I really can decide on the record before me and on the stuff I may properly consider in this context. Listen to this next sentence. But you can keep talking about Howey, and that's great. But there are several parts to Howey that I want to understand better than I do. When someone wants to understand something better than they already do, they're looking to be educated. Judge Fila can't sit there and be like, she knows everything about crypto. She knows everything about Howey. She knows everything about how all of these things collide. She needs to learn as well through this case. I'm sure she has learned so much already. Now, enter amicus briefs. This is the first, I think one of the first tweets I saw today. A couple of amicus briefs were filed today, and it was more than a couple. Here's Chamber of Digital Commerce. We're stepping in. Think of this in the background, in the back of your head, education. Judge Fila needing that education, right? That's what these amicus briefs are. These third parties coming in and offering information in this hearing or in this case. We filed an amicus curiae brief in the SEC versus Coinbase case. Our goal, to end the SEC's attempt to regulate the digital asset industry without legislative authority. Check this quick clip out. This is the VP of Policy over there at Chamber of Digital Commerce.
Why was it important for us to file this brief? Well, the SEC has continued through arbitrary enforcement actions to try to regulate the entire digital asset industry without delegated authority from Congress. We argue in our brief that this is a violation of the Constitution's major question doctrine.
It's a violation. And they're offering up this information to the court.
As we all know, Congress is currently debating digital asset legislation and trying to figure out the jurisdictional lanes, whether it should be regulated by the SEC or CFTC. And the SEC is unilaterally regulating the entire industry without that authority.
Without that authority. Today, Paradigm and A16Z Crypto filed a joint amicus brief in SEC case against Coinbase that demonstrates why the SEC's approach is unsupported by case law and represents a significant and problematic expansion of its regulatory authority. I just highlighted a couple pieces of this long tweet. Our amicus brief agrees with Coinbase's fundamental submission. Supreme Court precedent supports the requirement of a contractual obligation to find an investment contract. Since the SEC's complaint fails to plead any such contract, it should be dismissed. Information. Education. Simple information based on law. Under the SEC's theory, sales of commodities like oil, collectibles like art, what did we just look at in that one headline? Or even a Tesla would become subject to the securities laws. This dramatic expansion of the SEC's jurisdiction is unwarranted and would have a destabilizing effect on large swaths of the economy. Finally, the law correctly interpreted forecloses the SEC's claims, but if any doubt remains, the major questions doctrine prevents the SEC from unilaterally expanding its authority and jeopardizing the development of a critical technology in the United States. And what kind of video would this be if I didn't bring up a Meta Lawman thread on what's going on? Because he mentioned, guess what? Somebody else filing an amicus brief. Look at all these amicus briefs just falling today. And I believe today, August 11th, was the deadline for this to take place. So Senator Cynthia Lummis just filed an amicus brief supporting Coinbase motion to dismiss the SEC's complaint. There's Senator Lummis, senator from Wyoming. A few things. Congress has not granted the SEC authority to regulate crypto assets. So think of this. All this information being submitted to the court, right? And one of these amicus briefs coming from a sitting senator as it relates to law, as it relates to what the SEC's authority really is and what they're trying to do here and how it's not according to how things are structured constitutionally. Defining the contours of crypto regulation in this country is a job for Congress and not the SEC. The SEC's claim that virtually all crypto assets or securities exceeds the SEC's authority, encroaches on Congress's lawmaking, and contravenes the separation of power. And that's it, everybody. All of this submitted today, and this is huge, but I really come back to this quote from Judge during the pre-motion hearing, and keep in mind, this was at the same time Ripple was basically getting its win, XRP not a security, and this was also from Meta Lawman August 7th. The Ripple decision and proceedings in the Ripple case are cited 13 times by Coinbase in its motion to dismiss the SEC's case. While that's happening, basically, while Ripple was winning, and this is huge for this Coinbase case, Judge over here basically saying there are several parts of Howey that I want to understand better than I do. And all of these amicus briefs, all of this information coming from extremely smart people in the crypto space, in law, being offered. And I think this is another huge step in this process in terms of Coinbase versus SEC and Coinbase winning. I could be wrong. Coinbase, maybe they won't win. But I'm just saying, when I see all of this data compiling and it's on the side of law, it's on the side of common sense, I think there's a really strong case for Coinbase winning. Hence why Paul Graywall, chief legal officer at Coinbase, thinks they will win. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, everybody. There's a lot of people out there that don't think Coinbase will win and they think that a lot of the cryptos listed in that SEC complaint against Coinbase they're doomed, right? Because Coinbase will lose. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, everybody. If you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe, hit that like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.